now. One of the challenging things about this spill is it could go in a number of directions, and everybody wants to be ready. So rather than having enough boom to deal with the normal spill where it might come ashore, this thing is omnidirectional, and everybody trying to be ready to put a huge demand on the boom manufacturing in the country. But we've got a central warehousing operation down there, and we're dealing with the manufacturers.
Under federal law, the oil company BP is only liable for $75 million in damages. Do you support the efforts by some members of Congress to raise that liability limit?
Well, yeah, they're responsible for all costs. And then there's additional cap on other expenses associated with that. I believe it's something maybe should be looked at when we're done here, but BP understands they're responsible for all costs.
You know, can you at all estimate how much the containment and cleanup efforts have cost so far?
Well, we're up to about the cap the Coast Guard has out of our fund is somewhere between $15 and $20 million, and I don't have the exact total of what BP is spending, but it is considerable.
What's your best estimate about how long you think this containment process is going to take?
Well, the ultimate solution is to drill a relief well, relieve the pressure that's currently in that pipe, and then cap the well. That won't be done for at least 90 days, and there is already a drilling unit on scene that's actually starting to drill below the subsurface. That is the final solution. In the meantime, what we're trying to do is stop the leaks and stabilize the situation until the relief well can be done.
Well, what kind of environmental damage do you anticipate over that period of time?
Well, the most sensitive areas are marsh areas where you have wildlife, and especially where shellfish are spawning and that sort of thing. And of course, it's very close to the extensive wetlands and marshes around Louisiana and Mississippi. As you move over towards Alabama, you start to have, in Mississippi, you have beaches. And into Florida, a lot of economic impact associated with the beaches where the oil leaks get there right now. The oil, to date, though, it's only impacted the marshland areas around Louisiana. We've had some reports of tar balls in Alabama. We're not sure it's associated with this spill, but we're investigating. Right now, it appears that the impact is localized in southeast Louisiana, with the next area likely to be impacted would be Mississippi and Alabama.
You had a major job during Hurricane Katrina, and many people in the Gulf Coast region, particularly in Louisiana, were very disillusioned with the federal government's response to the hurricane. Will this time be different?
You know, I've been asked several times to compare Hurricane Katrina and this, and it's really difficult to do that because they're two very, very different events. As anomalous and as complex as Katrina was, there was a beginning and an end to it. In this oil spill, we're actually dealing with a source that does not have human access. And that's very, very different than anything we've ever done before. It's 5,000 feet down on the floor of the ocean. Everything we know through what seen by remotely operated vehicles and remote sensing. Everything we do down there is through robotics. And this is something we've never dealt with in a large spill before.
Do you think the government responded quickly enough after the oil rig exploded on April 20th?
I do, because I was involved in it from the start. You know, we started out with a massive search and rescue stage, then the explosion, and unfortunately there were 11 people that we were never able to find. We had a significant search and rescue effort. From the start, we had salvage teams available. We're starting to look at worst case discharges, because when you have a rig that large and that much fire going on, you know there's going to be something associated with it. We didn't wait to start doing the planning and pre-stage the resources. The real game changer, of course, on the 22nd of April when the rig actually sunk, and that created the fire went out, which was consuming the product, and then we had 3 leaks in the riser pipe, which was 5,000 feet of pipe that was crumbled over an area about 1,500 feet between the wellhead where the drill unit was resting upside down.
Admiral Thad Allen is the National Incident Commander for the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. He's also the Commandant for the United States Coast Guard. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leah.
Last weekend's attempted car bombing in New York's Times Square has been a wake-up call for counterterrorism officials. Many experts thought that the ease with which immigrants to the United States could better themselves meant that they were less vulnerable to radicalization, and as a result wouldn't attack within America's borders. But the Times Square plot is more proof that has changed. NPR's counterterrorism correspondent Dina Temple-Raskin has this report.
Recently, the terrorists who have been seeking to attack the U.S. have been among us. They are the jihadis next door.
I think that what we're seeing is kind of a metastasized Al-Qaeda.
That's so much. He's the FBI's former senior intelligence advisor.
That is, slowly, we've seen this in Europe, now we're seeing it slowly. You're not only getting Al-Qaeda operatives conducting operations, you're getting people who have absorbed the message, who see reports, I'm sure, of civilians dying Afghanistan and drone strikes in Pakistan, who see U.S. support for a Pakistani army that's putting incredible pressure, not only on al-Qaeda, but on Pakistani villages, and saying, I want to do something about it.
And some of the people wanting to do something about it are longtime residents in America. Najib al-Azadi, the man behind the New York City subway plot, was just a month away from applying for a green card. Or Faisal Shahzad, the Times Square bombing suspect who held an American passport.
I think we are moving towards the, what we would call the British model, something that the United States has taken great pride in differentiating itself from over the past 7 or 8 years.
Karen Greenberg is the executive director of NYU's Law and Security Center. She says the British radicalization model typically involves someone from South Asia or Pakistan who went to the UK for an education, built a life there, and then for some reason, personal or political or both, made their way to terrorist training camps.
It is tied, at least as the British authorities see it, and have seen it for many years, to a stage in Pakistan, and then return to the United Kingdom, and then to carry out acts of terrorism.
The alleged Times Square bomber seems to have taken that very path. He came to the U.S. 11 years ago, went to college here, earned an MBA, worked as a financial analyst, and owned a house in Connecticut. About a year ago, he became a naturalized citizen, and then, just a short time after that, according to court papers, he traveled to Pakistan, got explosives training with a militant group there, and returned to attack the U.S. Terrorism expert Bruce Hoffman said Shahzad should end any complacency about how homegrown terrorism can't happen here. The UK, he said, made the same mistake. They thought it couldn't happen to them either.
They said British society is very different. This is a problem that exists only on the European continent and would affect us.
Then homegrown suicide bombers attacked the London transportation system. That was on July 7, 2005.
Of course, they had a rude awakening, and we're now, fortunately, they're not going to be the same tragedy that occurred in London 5 years ago. And then the from his absent wake-up call, we're hearing it right now.
Hoffman says we should have seen it coming.